Hello, and welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Michael-Karl-Witzel is a photographer, historian, a folklorist devoted to American roadside culture. An award-winning author, he has penned several books. I went to his website. Go to michaelwitzel.com. That's W-I-T-Z-E-L. And I can't count that far. But anyway, he's really written a lot of books, including American Drive-In, The American Gas Station, The Sparkling Story of Coca-Cola, Cruisin', Car Culture in America, and The American Diner. And we're super happy to have him here on the show today to talk about Route 66, which is covered in his new book, Strange 66, Myth, Mystery, Mayhem, and Other Weirdness on Route 66. Something Nancy and I love. Weird, anything weird, anything mysterious, and especially if it's connected to a highway and hotels. You never know what's going on. So it is out now through voyageur-press. And again, go to Michael's website, michaelwitzel.com. Welcome, Mike. How are you?
Hi, Lisa. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Nancy she's hogged your book.
I love this
It
book.
came in and she just was off and running. She does
mine.
that. And I've managed to sneak it away for some wine time. I'm going, it's mine. But this is a beautiful book. Just all the photos, and it takes you back to, the old advertising, like when we could have a giant Coke bottle or, those kinds of things, or ketchup bottle, and to also just those crazy things that when you drive Route 66, I know Nancy and I we used to live up in 29 Palms outside Joshua Tree, and you'd go up by Amboy, and there was like the shoe tree, and we always wondered, what is that? And now you cover things like that. You rock. So I wanted to know, what got you started covering the Mother Road?
Well, I guess it was like you said, after all those other books, the American Gas Station and the American Drive-In, all those roadside America type books. I did that one book called Route 66 Remembered, and then I did another one called Legendary Route 66. And I've always had a real love for the road too. When I was a kid, road trips were like a big deal for me and the family, and those really just stand out in memory of my childhood.
There's something to it, I think. Also, I think we're getting back into taking road trips. I think Americans are going, and international guests for sure. Sometimes I think our international friends are more into Route 66 than we are at times, because I think that's when people looked at America and having lived outside the country, whenever I thought about America, my mind went to places like Route 66 or the Grand Canyon, or Yellowstone. And I just feel like that was kind of like a postage stamp for us for a long time.
Yeah. There's sort of a certain fascination for it, when you take the back roads and, take the slow route, so to speak, instead of, flying there in an airplane real fast where you really don't see anything, or on the freeway where you speed past everything. And that's where you encounter, like you said, all the weird and wonderful type attractions, on the back roads, when you really take your time and you're really not in any big hurry to get there. You're just seeing the sights along the way.
So what's up with the shoe tree?
The shoe tree.
Yeah.
I think the shoe tree is actually gone, unfortunately. I think it actually fell down, apparently. It had too many shoes on it. So it was a victim of its own sort of success. I guess people went there sort of as a pilgrimage, like going to a new life sort of thing. They'd leave their shoes there, for various whatever reasons they had, sort of as a tribute, I guess, on the way on the trip.
We saw a broad tree once.
Yeah, that was
on the road.
Where
was that?
Central California.
Yeah, we're like, oh look, and then we thought, okay, everywhere you go, you're going to find another tree full of people's clothing of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always some kind of weird roadside monument you encounter, and that's what's pretty cool. When you find those things, you don't see it, in your regular travels.
But the world's largest catsup bottle. So, I mean, this is a huge, it's like its own water tower. And then there's like a preservation society for ketchup bottles.
Yeah, the Brooks ketchup bottle or catsup bottle, whatever you want to call it. They call it catsup, which is kind of strange. But yeah, that's out there along. Well, it's close to Route 66. It's in Collinsville, Illinois, and it's like you said, it's a whole water tower shaped like a large catsup bottle. And now it's become sort of, like another favored, roadside attraction. And everybody's well, not everybody, but there's a lot of fans of that type of ketchup. It's sort of a tangy catsup. I don't know. It sort of has like a hot sauce mixture into it.
Ooh, oh, I like that.
I just think it's
so
there's something every so often when you're just about to get really tired of driving, up pops something really weird that you just have to go and see on Route 66. But your book has opened my eyes to a lot of things that we've missed.
Yeah, it's like you're compelled to stop and look.
Yeah.
How many times have you driven the Mother Road, do you think?
Probably a couple of times in different segments, not the whole thing at once.
And the diner part of it, I know that there's a diner in Barstow. It's really popular, Barstow, California. But the diner that you have, the Route 66 diner in Albuquerque. So explain the Frito pie, because I know we've talked about that with someone before, but this is interesting. You talk about Hatch chilies, which we love out here. We're in the Southwest now. We're here in Tucson, Arizona, so we're near the Hatch chili country. So we get to have them in grocery stores everywhere. But this Frito pie. I didn't know how it actually came to be until reading your book. So what little time Nancy allowed me to. But can you tell us about the Frito pie? Yummy.
Yeah, the Frito pie, as some people don't know, but some people do know, it's actually made from a bag of Fritos chips. You basically just take the bag and you put it in like one of those cardboard sort of food containers, and you slice the bag open and you dump in, chili or cheese and whatever else you want to put in there, sometimes sour cream on top. And then there you have it. You heat it up in the oven or, whatever, and you've got a Frito pie. It's sort of like an instant fast food thing.
So in your travels on Route 66, what really was the thing that surprised you the most?
The thing that surprised me the most, I guess it's just some of the strange things that happen every day that people really don't see, unless they stop to take the time to look at, like the various ghost stories and crimes that happen there on different sites along the way. And, there's always something different popping up around the next turn.
Have you seen a ghost there?
I haven't seen any ghosts myself, but I know they're in New Mexico and, in Arizona, there's that hotel with the ghosts of various types. And, of course, there's a lot of different ghost stories in many cities along the way. I mean, there's never an end to the ghost stories.
And we love the ghost stories. And I know in Oatman, Arizona, we've been through there a few times. That hotel was haunted, and they said Odie the ghost.
Otis.
Oh yeah, right, Odie the ghost.
Yeah, and he was a drunk miner, and he died behind it. I don't know, he was so drunk or something like that.
Yeah, I think he died behind the hotel, and then he comes back.
I took a psychic medium to Oatman.
Oh, that was funny.
And we went upstairs from the bar in the hotel, and I said, okay, so like, are you? I'm serious. This was years ago.
It was really funny.
And I said, can you like channel Odie? And what happened is there was this store across the street, and this was about, I'm going to say 15 years ago. And there was across the street from the hotel, looking down, it opened this Olive Oatman diner, and they had a picture of Olive Oatman, who was captured by the Apaches and tattooed, and they had her there with a tattoo. And all of a sudden, she got really weird, like the psychic. Olive's gone, but it was weird because she was like I don't know. I wish I tried to film this, and all the footage got weird, of course. And it was almost like her body was moving. And I don't know if that's, I'm not going to say that I believe in it or I don't, but it was odd. And all she was saying is like Olive Oatman was talking to her that she doesn't want everyone to know about her because of her tattoo, that's what everybody looks at but doesn't realize who she is. And she goes on this whole thing and how that she was a mother. She had a whole thing about her being a mother. And I'm going like, I have read all these books on Olive Oatman, and I've always been fascinated by her story. And I'm like, now did the psychic lady know? Like, I don't know. It's just interesting.
It was she her face was contorting, and we were like, wow,
that's
real
weird.
creepy.
Well, yeah, that is weird. Did you ever hear about the humpback hauntings out there in Route 66 near Oklahoma?
No, but I was reading that dude keeps showing up. I mean, that would freak me out. Like,
yeah, it's sort of like the old Twilight Zone episode, the Vanishing Hitchhiker story. It's sort of a general story that pops up, in American folklore all the time about the hitchhiker. You pick him up, then you let him off a few miles down the road, and sure enough, you're driving, and 10 miles later, there he is again. He wants to be picked up again. Of course, in the Twilight Zone, it was because the woman who was driving the hitchhiker, she had actually died in a car crash, and she didn't realize it until the end.
Yeah, she didn't know she was dead. It's like that Bruce Willis film.
That's so funny you talk about that, the Twilight Zone, because this is what Nancy said. He's writing it like the Twilight Zone. I feel like I'm in that. I'm in that.
Exactly. Your writing style is very like that.
Yeah.
That was actually a big influence, the Twilight Zone. I was always a fan of that show and Rod Serling's writing. I can't imagine, why there's nothing like that these days on television. But there was nothing like it since then. And that really sparked my imagination when I was a kid, seeing some of those programs.
Yeah, because when I'm reading, I'm like, I can hear his voice almost.
Wow, thanks. I appreciate that.
I'm like, wow, no, man. Then, I remember that there was one episode where this person was sitting in the car next to this woman driving, and he was handsome, and then he turned into this monster and said, I'm going to eat your face.
Nice.
and Rod Serling's voice is, you never know what can happen on the road.
Sorry, Mike, I told you you're going to have a relaxed conversation.
Yeah, there's always something you're never going to expect what's going to happen next. There's always there's always those weird insects under the floorboard, and things hiding in the walls that you don't know about. You don't know about until later on. And then when you find out about them, you can't believe that you were there. Time.
Okay, so the other thing is all the gangs, like Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh,
and
yeah, I know.
And we saw their car. It was Jean?
Prim or Jean?
Jean, Nevada.
In a casino.
Oh, it was a Prim.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Nevada. Yeah, it was all shot up. And then that's the other thing. You can think back to this road and these areas of, when you look at Bonnie and Clyde, and there was a lot. I mean, there was Catherine Kelly was running her gang around that same time, up a little bit, up north, I think, a bit more, but no, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri. There was all stuff. There was something was going on in Kansas about these kinds of.
Oh, yeah.
What was going on? Why there? But it was rampant, and women were involved. And I think that's what was so interesting about those stories is that we were supposed to be baking cookies at home, but no, we're running gangs.
That Ma Barker.
Ma Barker. Yeah, it seems like everything was involved around Route 66, I guess, because it was the big corridor, across the U.S. at the time. So, even the criminals, caught in on it. But out there in Missouri, Joplin, that's what Bonnie and Clyde, they stopped there one time and rented a small apartment, when they were on the lam for a while. And that was the site of like a big shootout with the police where a bunch of guys got killed. But it's still there. Actually, the apartment, it's restored, and it's the building is still there if you want to see it.
Oh wow, that happened with Catherine Kelly because she was married to Machine Gun Kelly, and he ended up in Alcatraz. But she, I love this story about her because they knew Bonnie and Clyde and Ma Barker. Something happened there. Like I'm going to maybe get this twirled around, but they would get into different apartments, so they would move all the time from apartment to apartment to not get
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened was they were partying like all night, and they just making so much noise that neighbors were afraid to complain. But yeah, they were like going crazy there, and that's what brought the cops in eventually. And then they tried to shoot their way out, and of course it was a firestorm of bullets going in every direction.
Wasn't it? But, she said it, and this is it. So this is it. That was her last statement or something. So this is it.
Might as well
go out with a bang. But then you've got Al Capone. You got to have some mafia stuff going on too. This is
Al Capone, the whole Route 666 thing there in Chicago. That was sort of his getaway route and his route to the outskirts of town where he had his various crash pads where they would party and hide out from the cops.
Okay, so you went to all these places. Do you feel it like that stuff went down here? Like going to that apartment, where Bonnie and Clyde were, and going to these places. Do you kind of get that seriously, vibe? I'll call my
you kind of get that whole feeling because of those events that happened there. Everything that's there, the stones, the rocks, all of those events are sort of imprinted on that location. And if you have the feeling for it and the time to sense it, you'll get the idea.
The other thing is the Trail of Tears. I thought bringing that into play was bringing that into the book. I just now is researching it because we're on this quest personally to visit every single national park unit in the country and anywhere we can go around the world. And most of them are historic. Some of them are historic trails. We're crossing fingers that Route 66 will become a National Historic Trail as well. But
right.
I was just putting things up on our site. We were just writing some things about the Trail of Tears. And when I think about how many, there was thousands, it was mostly Cherokees, right, that got moved along. And that's it. You're gonna march across.
Yeah, I thought it was more than appropriate to include, some sort of nod to the Native Americans, especially when it comes to the Trail of Tears, because even though it wasn't the whole route of Route 66, obviously, there was some portions of the early trails that made up Route 66 that comprised the Trail of Tears. And it seems ironic to me, and a lot of people don't realize it, a lot of the travel and public relations related to travel, in the Southwest and all that, really capitalized on that whole Indian, idea, the Indian image, and sort of exploited that whole thing, while at the same time, how oppressed they've become, over the decades. So I thought that was kind of ironic.
When you look at the Wigwam Hotel franchise, I mean, that's funny.
Yeah.
I think I would go stay in one just because it's so odd. But, but I don't know how a Native American would feel about a hotel like that.
Yeah, that's why in the first book that I wrote on Route 66, Route 66 Remembered, I sort of looked at that hotel chain in a more nostalgic way, how interesting it was and, all that. But now, at this time, when I looked at it again and re-examined it, I realized, all the things that happened to the Native Americans, and some of the accommodations there were better than some of the homes that they're living in. I mean, so they were trying to recreate sort of a fake experience for the tourists, which really had nothing to do with the Indian way of life. Just basically the imagery and that sort of thing.
That's really interesting because when you think about advertising too, you've got the neon signs, and you think about, they use them a lot. We have friends, Jeroen and Maggie Boersma, that travel, and they come here every year from Holland, twice a year, just photographing the neon signs. And it's so, watching them travel with these signs and, posting them up on social media, I watch it all the time, and you see some of these. And going through your book too, it's like, here it is. It's not just like the Wigwam Hotel, but here it is. We're using Indians and the neon signs. We're, almost like I think it was in some ways, it's we now know that that's not a positive thing for the Native Americans, but I think they were their way sometimes trying to portray the Wild West, You know what I mean? The whole
Yeah,
cowboy
yeah,
Indian
yeah.
thing, which is, it was a wild West.
Yeah, I think it would be different if we treated the Indians different, over the centuries and didn't try to basically kick them out of their homelands, It would be a different story. But when you look back at all the awful things that happened to them, it's sort of it's sort of disingenuous to me when some of that imagery is used in that way.
Yeah.
The other part too that I find interesting is the Dust Bowl. I find that because I always look about what's going on with the weather and I don't know, maybe because we're living in the desert. I always think about like the Dust Bowl. Could happen again. Could it? And yeah, it could. And the migration of people and how hard it was. I mean, it was literal sand in your house. Like really, there was no joke. I mean, it was really bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like that area just, the Midwest went through a lot. I mean, and then for us, we've done a lot of travel through Central California and interviewed people that their family came from the Dust Bowl and they settled in they went from one agricultural zone to another, but I mean, theirs really ran dry, and that's something to really not forget in our history. So I'm really glad you brought that up. Amongst the ghost stories and the shootouts and everything, it's important to tell those stories of what happened in those places.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, really. Like you said, when you go back and look at it, dust would be piled up or dirt or whatever, multiple feet high. And people even got pneumonia, dust pneumonia from all the, exposure to those, elements in the air. So it was not a good time for the people living in those regions.
Weird things happen. When we lived in 29 Palms, for some reason, we always kind of felt it was the military action because it's based there and they did a lot of war games. Yeah. But all of a sudden one day, everybody got infested with lots of cockroaches. And I mean,
wow,
hundreds. And even in the newspaper, this one lady, she was shoveling them out of her home.
Wow.
Weird. And it never happened again. It happened once. I was walking in the garden, and where the hose water was hitting this dirt, it was making a hole, and cockroaches came out. I'm like, I don't like that.
That is scary. I have a big aversion to insects myself, so 1 or 2 cockroaches definitely would put me into a frenzy.
It was way more than 1 or 2. They kept coming out, and I'm like, I'm throwing the hose and I'm running.
Oh my God.
You can come hang out here in Tucson. We have what do you call it? Scorpions.
Really? Oh yeah. I've actually lived in Tucson. It's a very nice area. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Great. Yeah. It's to me it's beautiful. I love it out here.
I love the Sonoran Desert. Yeah.
It has a vibe of Route 66, and some of the places like I can you please write a book on Old Highway 80? Like, really, that's a good idea. I just feel like we have to. I know it's pretty much gone, but it went from Georgia to San Diego, and it's
right.
being forgotten, and I don't want it to be forgotten. So I'm just asking, please go do it.
Yeah, I'm actually in Georgia right now in Savannah, and I've been on Highway 80 here locally. Yeah, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Really? How cool.
Highway 80. I'll have to look into that closer. Yeah, I knew there was Highway 40, but I wasn't aware of the Highway 80 thing.
Yeah, I think I don't know which came first, Route 66 or Old Highway 80. It was a little different, but I find like the Missouri area has got to be so fascinating because so many things happen. And part of when you're traveling down Route 66, it's not necessarily just what was going on at the time when the highway opened up, but you're also in places that went through so much history. And I think that's what Trail of Tears, but then it also helped places become known, right? As when that highway happened, didn't it bring tourism and help some of the communities?
Yeah, it sort of tied everybody together in one big community.
And then they put the interstate in and took it away.
Yeah.
It's like here.
Yeah.
Now, did you experience any of these weird things? You didn't see any ghosts, but what about the spook lights?
What?
The spook lights.
Yeah, the spook light. There's that phenomenon they call it spook light, or they've got different names for it. but it's out there in Quapaw, Oklahoma, small town there. There's various explanations for it. Nobody really knows what it is. Some people say it's, car headlights in the distance, which it couldn't be if you look at the topography and, what's around there. And there's different legends, Indian legends that, explain its origin. But I think it's basically just some sort of ball lightning or plasma, some kind of phenomenon like that, which I have seen on the roadsides, like that.
Yeah.
Some call it foxlight or foxfire or that kind of thing, where you see like a small bluish or different color flame flickering sort of on the ground, and it just basically comes out of nowhere. It's very strange.
Wow. Have you seen any aliens?
I know, right? That's the thing.
I haven't seen any aliens to speak of, unless you count some people in my everyday encounters, Walmart.
Yeah, well, that's possible, isn't it?
But yeah, I did have an encounter once in Fort Worth, Texas, which is a little bit far from 66, but I was out at night photographing some things. And when I noticed some sort of craft that was hovering rather slowly, it was near Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth. That was the place where they actually took the remains of that one incident where they found the pieces of that UFO in Roswell. They brought it to Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth. Anyway, this thing was hovering, and I pulled off the side of the freeway to start taking pictures. At night, at the time, I had infrared film in the camera. And as soon as I stopped and got out of the car, what do you think happened? The lights on the craft went dead, went blank.
Wow.
Suddenly, there was nothing there. But I could still hear there was something there, and it wasn't jet or anything fast flying. It was just something very quiet, moving around, up there, very stealthily. So I thought that was my big strange encounter with a UFO.
Wow,
cool.
Who knew, man? It's like I know. Come on the show. Have you seen a ghost? Have you, met an alien? It's like we're quite normal here, and but.
No, but because the book is all about weird stuff.
I know, but it's...
Yeah.
Okay, the Bunyan, they had to call it Bunyan, right? The Bunyan Derby foot race. I'm sorry, but this is cool. $25,000 prize, and how far did all these guys run? And only 5 people. They went across country, right? Right across country.
Yeah, the Bunyan Derby. It was a big deal at the time. They basically took the route of Route 66, went completely cross country, like you said.
Wow, people, and only 5 people made it at the end because back in the day, $25,000.
Yeah. It was promoted by some promoter, C.C. Pyle. It was like a really big, promoter at the time during the late 20s. Sort of, one of the, big guys in the industry, and he basically put the whole thing on and got investors and that kind of thing.
Okay, so what's going on with the Pasadena Bridge thing? What's the story behind this? Am I going to want to drive across this, or is this?
I'm not going with you.
Yeah, the Pasadena Bridge. Some people call it the Suicide Bridge. It was built in the early 1900s. I think it was done in like 1912 or something like that. But supposedly, according to the legends, one of the workers fell to his death and he landed in the cement, far down below. Of course, no one retrieved his body, but that's just a story. But anyway, after the bridge was completed, a lot of laid-off workers and other people began tossing themselves over the side. And then it got crazy because people sort of, when they wanted to off themselves, would flock to this bridge, with copycat type scenarios.
Well,
yeah, between I think it was between 1933 and the end of the 30s, there's something like 50 people, were killed when they jumped off the thing.
Wow.
And it's really a shame because it's really a beautiful bridge.
Yeah, but there's going to be ghosts on that
bridge.
That's
that. I'm not doing that. There's no way. No. Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
okay.
No, there's definitely ghosts nowadays. A lot of stories of people there that you can see different things at night. There's supposedly one guy with wire rimmed glasses who waltzes back and forth across the bridge at night and vanishes, of course, when you get closer to him. But it's basically your standard roadside bridge ghost story.
But now you've got to be getting haunted in Savannah, Georgia. I'm just saying.
yeah, there's a lot of ghosts down here, sure.
I know. I wanted the Arcadia Red Barn in Oklahoma. Okay, so this is interesting. Weird to me because so we've got domes, geodesic domes. So Buckminster Fuller got into that and he started those, and it's all kind of in the same era of when we're getting these dome kind of buildings. But I know that you've been out of Amboy and all that area. Did you ever go into Joshua Tree or up to Lucerne Valley in that area where the Integratron is that Von Tassel built?
No. What is the Integratron?
Okay, so Von Tassel, he thought the Venusians. Well, the Venusians told him how to build the Integratron, and it looked like the Red Barn, and they were going to take off. And the FBI was after him, and the military base was right there where we were, right? This place is trippy. And by the time they were, there's a whole story. So everyone check it out. Now they're doing, you go upstairs and you can lie in a hammock or lie on the ground and they'll do crystal sound baths and things like that.
But that's not what he did.
Not what they were. Yeah. You were supposed to regenerate and be younger and you could buzz off in this thing. And then it was about the electricity and all of that. And the day he went in to turn it all on, his wife was going to be on his back. He had a massive heart attack and died. Boom.
Wow.
On the day he was supposed to be mine.
Yeah, but he lived in Slipknot and this is crazy. Howard Hughes was involved in this and put money towards it. He had like a cult going on. Commune cult. It's like a bunch of people meditating in rocks thinking they're going to beam up. So there it is. That's in the short thing. But, okay, so when we went in there, and it's really interesting how the Red Barn looks like it.
Yeah.
And how he also had the wood curve and bend.
No
and
nails.
Everybody was like, this is all the Venusians taught him how to do this. And there's no nails. And so the Red Barn.
It looks like it.
And it's all around the same time frame. What was going on? The Red Barn has nails and it's, they bent the wood with water, right?
They steamed it.
Yeah.
But it looks like
it seems like that Integratron thing was something to focus sort of like psychic powers down to the people, and at the Red Barn, I think they used it for like dances and musical events. The acoustics inside that thing are really great because everything reflects back down, sort of back down to where everyone can hear really well. So be a perfect venue for bands and that kind of thing.
But this is weird how it all happened in the same time frame. And he did meditate, and he would do all these meditations, sessions.
But
and
on Venus, everybody has homes like this.
I know, but this whole idea of bending the wood through water and steam, and just understanding how to do that. I know in Africa things like that happen all the time, and we've lived in places like that. And round buildings rock; they're awesome, and they would build all the round. They would have huts. They were round so that the evil spirits couldn't hide in a corner. So this is fascinating to me about how that whole. There's got to be more to this.
Even like speaking of Africa, you have Elmer's Bottle Tree Ranch, and what we learned, like these bottle trees come from the idea of putting bottles on these wrought iron or iron structures. In Africa, they put them on trees, like on the tree limb. And
that's to like deflect evil spirits, right?
Right, and it's a spirit tree because when the wind blows, some of the bottles will whistle.
And I see.
So, so that's cool. And we saw that, in Africa, we saw it in slave quarters. Was it the Melrose Plantation?
Melrose Plantation, Louisiana, Natchitoches area.
Yeah.
But people do it all over. We have, our neighborhood, everyone has that kind of thing, but it seems to be a desert thing. And this guy, we didn't go. So this is Oro Grande in California. We didn't know about this, and that was in our backyard pretty much. We could have gone there, and we can still go there.
We have to go.
This is
I think the guy who started it, Elmer Long, he basically just had a fascination for the bottles, because he collected them with his father when he was a kid. But I think just inadvertently, without knowing it, he created one of these psychic type places where energies sort of are absorbed and converge, and people are drawn to. I don't think he knew he was doing it at the time, but that's what he came up with in the end, I think.
Wow,
that's interesting.
Man, this is such a cool book. Everyone, you need to go and get it. before you go, Mike, we have a fun question since we love road trips, right? And
Right.
and I know you got to too. So you're going to take a road trip on Route 66. So we want to know what portion, or if you're going to do the whole thing. But you're going to have someone in the car with you. It could be someone alive or passed on, someone you want to. It could be, a Venusian. It could be anybody that you want to just sit and, be in. Because road trips, you have to have the right person in the car, and you may want their information or just a fun time. So we want to know the person, where you're going, and what music you're playing, because that's key.
And what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, we want the gossip.
Okay, what pops into mind just right now is that I'd have Rod Serling sitting there on the side.
Cool.
So he could be telling me stories.
He's going to creep you out.
Yeah. You look out the window.
And the soundtrack would be all those great road songs, road trip songs, about rocking down the highway, that kind of thing.
Cool. And so you just want to sit and get tripped out by it. Where are you going to drive from? Like, you do the whole thing?
Basically, probably do the whole thing. And, you'd have to be in a Corvette, of course. Convertible. And basically seek out all the really strange stories with old Rod sitting there weaving some tales of amazement.
Oh my gosh, I like this.
Yeah, I can hear it, man.
I know.
The other thing is you could go with Marty Milner and George Maharis.
Yeah.
The TV show.
Yeah. Well, that's
the only. Yeah. Or I was thinking the only other person would be Jack Kerouac would be perfect.
Oh, of course. Okay, so I don't know if you go into casinos at all. It's been a few years since we've been in one. The last time we were in a casino, there's a Twilight Zone machine, penny machine thing, or whatever they call it, nickel machine.
All the money.
No, it's the coolest thing. So it was next to the Harry Houdini machine. So you know what Nancy and I did, right? We sat at Houdini in Twilight Zone and had fun right next to the other cat thing that, if the mirror breaks, you lose your money.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, if you go into a casino, go look for the Twilight Zone game because it's fun.
Okay.
It's fun.
It's the best way to lose your money, but
stay away from the alien machine because that's just creepy.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
okay.
But he's had his experience. He's got experience under his belt for that. We want to thank you for joining us. It's been such a pleasure and so much fun. Everybody, again, the book is Strange 66: Myth, Mystery, Mayhem, and Other Weirdness on Route 66. It's out now through voyageur-press. Again, the author is Michael-Karl-Witzel. And you can go to his website, michaelwitzel.com. That's Witzel. I want to thank all of our listeners joining us here on Big Blend Radio. We air Sunday through Friday. Shows go live on Sundays. And not on Sundays, every day from what Nancy's interrupting me.
No, I'm sorry. I just thought
that's what mothers get to do.
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask you, since you've done so many road trips. Have you ever come across the Beast of Barstow? Do you know what I'm saying?
The Beast of Barstow?
Yeah.
I've heard of him, but I'm not come across him.
That's when you were a kid. You went to rock hounding.
Yeah, and he was this old man with this big old beard and floppy hat, and he had all these rocks that weren't valuable. He painted gold paint on them, like big old daubs of gold paint, and told everybody it was really gold.
Standard story.
Yeah, and he was just so funny. Every time we went on a road trip, we're like, we want to see the Beast of Barstow.
I know there's the thing out there in what is it? Arizona?
Yeah, with the mummy. Yeah, with the mummy toe.
Yeah,
there's the mummy.
Yeah, what is the thing?
The thing is down. It's here on our side. If you go to east on, are we 8 or 10 now? We just came back from a trip. Now I forgot what road we're on. Is it 8? No, it's 10. We're on 10 now. Yeah, I was just thinking from San Diego and Yuma. Go 10. If you go 10 east and head towards El Paso, you'll see, visit the thing. The thing. You've got to visit the thing. And I have never been.
One of the great disappointments in life.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Everyone we've interviewed on road trips, they all say, do not waste your time. But then you still want to go because there's
You're
a
still
mummy
compelled to see what that thing is. Yeah.
I want to see the mummy. I'm into mummies.
Another disappointment is the Vermishave commercial little plaques are gone off the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about at all.
They've all been stolen by collectors. That's the problem.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
wonder, because it's like every so often you'd see another word of the commercial.
Oh,
the Burmese.
Same thing with the wall drug signs. Visit Wall Drug, only 5,000 miles east. That kind of thing. Have you ever seen those?
No.
Yeah. It was a Wall Drug store where they basically advertised all over the U.S. with little signs and billboards. At these absurd distances. People would actually go there.
That's so funny.
See, I would, because I'm just curious.
It's weird.
And anything weird, and it's true when you get those signs. Billboards are interesting, and I just think that the advertising back in the day was more fun and interesting. Now we're getting all glitzy, glamoury, and some stuff you don't even understand. But there was
you don't even know what the ad is for.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
No, it was like, what was that? It's like, no, thank God for Netflix. TV when it comes to ads, just saying. But no, I love and I think we're going to see people slowly go back that way. I see some in some areas in tourism come back and start those old school signs, especially historic hotels that are going, hey, we want to keep our identity,
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's slowly going to be a comeback. I don't know. I just want it. So I'm just saying, putting it out there.
I just had to ask that.
Okay. So everybody, again, Big Blend Radio airs Sunday through Friday. Go to bigblendradio.com and you'll get all the information there. So thank you for joining us. We want to thank our sponsor, the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association. We call them IFTWA. We air a show with them every second Friday. It's our food, wine, travel show. We interview journalists that have traveled the world. And they're really cool because they really go to these amazing destinations and tell the stories just like what Michael does in his book. So everyone, if you want to get some good travel stories, go to ifwtwa.org. It's a great association. If you're a writer, you should belong. And also if you are a destination, check that out too, because they'll work with you to get travel writers there to make sure people know about you. So again, ifwtwa.org. And we got to play some music for you. Mike, are you ready for some Indrid Cold? Do you know who Indrid Cold is?
I don't know, but if I could just put a thing in there real quick, the book is on Amazon.com. It's not actually on my website, but go to Amazon if you do want to order a copy.
Oh, that's it. That's where you go. Go to Amazon.com and get it through there. And absolutely, Amazon has every book, so go there.
No, they got everything.
They do. They literally do have everything on there.
Yeah.
But we're going to dedicate this song to you. It's about the Mothman, and it's about traveling down. And Indrid Cold was the salesman driving down the road, and then the Mothman stopped him, came in, pulled him over, and said, "Hey, hi." They had a conversation. He smiled at him. Anyway, the Mothman rocks, and this song rocks. And if you drive and you listen to this song, you may get a ticket. It's from Johnny Mastro and the Mama's Boys, based out of New Orleans now, and you can go to johnnymastro.com. It's off of their latest album called Never Trust the Living. So go on Route 66 and get spooked, so there it is. All right, everybody, here it is, Indrid Cold. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike.
Okay, thanks, guys. Keep it weird.
All right, everyone, go to Amazon. Go get the book, Strange 66.